Thank you.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Mr. Brennan?
Didn't have an attorney that we were going to try and, is there,
Your Honor, I did type up a plea agreement for Mr. Brennan. I believe are you still reading over that?
absolutely, yes.
So if we want to pass that over, he wanted to carefully read over the right section, Your Honor, and I obviously don't oppose that.
Take your time,
So-
don't want to rush on that. Okay, Mr. Harper.
Yes, Judge. If I can call William Adams first, he's number 122 on the docket, 22 CF 3033. He is present and approaching. Judge, I've spoken with the states. We've been exploring a couple of different things as a possible resolution. I think we may be taking the deposition of the co-defendant in this case. She's already entered a plea, and I think that might enable a resolution of this case, but I would ask for a full cycle continuance.
Stated in agreement.
The state agrees to that continuance, Your Honor.
Continue to 9th of October, 9 a.m.
Thank you, Judge. The next one I have is Stephen Arnold. He is present and approaching before the court on 23 CF 1068. Judge, I believe this is the second time up. Mr. Arnold is now out of custody. I'm going to do the depositions in this case, and I would ask to continue this for that purpose.
The court will continue this till next cycle, October 9th.
No objection, Your Honor.
The next one I have, Judge, is Diamond Atkinson. She is present and approaching before the court on 23 CF 932. Judge, she has been diligently working her DCF case plan. I'm hoping that by next cycle, we'll be able to demonstrate that she's made significant progress and hopefully alleviate some of the state's concerns. I'm not certain if that'll be true or not, but the state does have concerns about this particular case, given the fact pattern. But I would ask for a continuance.
Without objection, Your Honor. We certainly hope that she's progressing.
Very good. The court will continue this case till October 9th.
The next one, Judge, is Jeremy Bess. He is present and approaching. He's before the court on 20 CF 106 and 23 CF 614. Judge, these cases pertain to his driver's license. He has made significant progress in getting his license reinstated. He's taken the DUI class, and he's made some progress toward getting the certifications that the Bureau of Administrative Affairs requires in order for him to get his hardship license. It's our intent that once he finalizes getting his hardship license and presents that in court next cycle, it will be a plea at that point, Judge. So I'd ask for one last continuance to 10-9.
The court will continue this till October 9th, and then will reflect this to be the license.
Thank you, Judge. The next one, Judge, is Joshua Biglin. He is present and approaching. Judge, I believe that we are recently appointed in Mr. Bigland's case, 23 CF 1005, so I'd ask to continue this for that purpose.
And this is a relatively new case, so we'll continue until 10 October 9.
Can you just reach out to me?
Stay in touch with your attorney.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's it. The next one that I have, Judge, is Shanna Bland. She is present and approaching. She's before the court on 23 CF 1005. Judge, likewise, this is a new case to me. I was recently appointed in this matter. I'd ask to continue this to 10-9.
Where are we at with regards to the discovery? Has there been exchanges? Where are we at?
Judge, I believe that we've made a request. I'm not certain if we've received discovery yet, but I did speak with Ms. Sharpless about it, and either it's incoming or we've already received
So
it.
it is just start?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So we'll continue this till October 9. Stay in touch with your attorney.
The next case, Judge, is Mauricio Bonilla. Judge, she's not present, but there is a waiver of appearance in this particular case. The only thing outstanding in this matter is the deposition of the victim. There are some issues pertaining to that, and I've addressed that with the state. There's some issues pertaining to that. We would ask to continue this to do the deposition of the victim. I think at this time, the victim's whereabouts are not entirely known. We believe that she's in Texas. I think the state is inquiring as to the location of the victim and whether or not she still wants to proceed forward. But we would ask to continue this one cycle for that purpose.
And yes, Your Honor, we do need to ensure her appearance at the deposition, so I know this is an older case, but we are working on trying to move it.
Okay. We'll continue. We lost it.
You just need to give this to the clerk, right?
Can I see?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Looks like he needs to sign.
Thank you, Judge. The next one I have is Trevion Braxton.
We've got that one, an inmate that's on.
He's actually not, Judge. I think that what happened at one point, he was in DJJ,
Okay.
and once he completed that program, it still erroneously left him as an inmate or a detainee. He's be-
Obviously, he's here, so we can go ahead and handle the case.
Yes, sir. He's before the court on 22 CF 739, 22 CF 2943, and 23 CF 126. Judge, on the newest case, 126, we need to do depositions on that case. Additionally, the state and I have talked about potential plea negotiations with youthful offender as a condition. I think we're just a little bit not connecting on the numbers, but we're negotiating toward a hopeful resolution, Judge. But I would ask for one cycle continuous at 10-9 to do
What's
this.
what's the deposition we need? What's the discovery we need?
The deposition, Judge, pertains to the possession of the weapon or firearm on the school property. That newest charge, it does, that type of offense elevates to the point where he does score, which is concerning. And so we need to get that addressed, and hopefully that will facilitate plea negotiations.
Okay. Very good. So we'll continue this until October 9th, 9 a.m. Make sure and stay in touch with your attorney.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
The next one I have, Judge, is Michael Bryan. Judge, I believe that this is a waiver. Ms. Jaquet has actually, even though it's within this court, this case was transferred over from Judge Brown to here, and she's made significant work on this particular case and would like to
What's the defense?
Michael Bryan, number 130 on the docket, 22 CF 66.
Okay.
It's actually 655. Judge, she is asking to leave this set for docket day. There are some motions that are pending in the case that she's filed already. So she would like to bring it back on docket day.
Come back on docket day at 9 a.m., which
Thank you.
is August 21st next week.
Yes, sir. The next one is Vera Carroll, 23 CF 299. There's a waiver of appearance in this particular case, Judge. The state and I have been in negotiation. I think we have a resolution to a misdemeanor plea. She resides out of state. I'm asking to bring it back on docket day for a plea.
State,
Your Honor, that's fine with the state.
we'll come back on docket day 8/21 at 9 a.m.
The next one, Judge, is Jonathan Cook. He's before the court on 21 CF 3229. Judge, if we can also bring him back on docket day. There's a video. Mr. Cook and I will review that video this week, and we'll make a determination as to how to proceed on docket day. I think we're going to leave it soft set for a trial potentially, and the state is going to inquire availability as to the witnesses.
Yes, Your Honor, if you'll recall, this was set for trial, and the state had subpoenas out last cycle, but then Mr. Cook had some sort of medical emergency, and then he was not here. There was a capias issue, but then that capias got resolved because he legitimately had an emergency. I need to inquire with the deputy sheriffs whether they can be here, but if we can set it for docket day, I will do that between now and Monday.
Okay, so we'll set it for docket day next week, 8/21, for plea or trial.
Next judge is Stacy Crowley. Ms. Crowley is present and approaching. She's before the court on 22 CF 656. Judge, if we may approach on this case.
This is Tiffany Woodham, State.
Thank you, Judge.
Farms
The next
newest
one is
agent in
Sherry
Crestview.
Dorgan. There
I'd like
should
to
be a waiver
personally
of
invite
appearance
you
in
to
this
stop.
particular case, Judge. We have done deposition matter. I think there's an issue of me needing to provide some additional reciprocal discovery to the state. The state is aware of what it is. It's basically some phone records on our end to substantiate the nature of the conversations between the two parties. So I'd ask for a full cycle continuance. The problem is that her phone was hacked and it's complicating things, and she needs to go through her provider to ensure that she's able to get a copy of that.
Do you anticipate this being the last continuance necessary?
Absolutely, Judge, that's fine.
Your Honor, if we could, I know that this might take longer than docket day, but if we can bring it back on docket day and check on how long it's going to take her to get it done, so I can let the victims in this case know if there's going to be a full cycle continuance.
That's fine.
So we'll continue it till both days. We'll continue it until next week. We'll come back on docket day. We'll also continue it for the next cycle, so that we don't lose that track of it. Okay.
The next one, Judge, is Miranda Fair. Judge, she is not present. I have not had any contact with Ms. Fair.
Judge, I would request a capias.
Court will order a capias without one.
The next one, Judge, is Trevon Fitzgerald. I believe he's present and approaching. He's before the court on 23 CF 560 and 23 CF 611. Judge, this is a case to which I've been relatively newly appointed. I would ask to continue this for one cycle to go over discovery of Mr. Fitzgerald.
The court will continue this till 10/9 at 9 a.m. So relatively. 9 o'clock.
Judge, the next case is Dennis Foster. He is present and approaching. He's before the court on 22 CF 813. and 22 CF 2087. Judge, these are both older cases, but we would ask to do one last continuance. I will try to do any outstanding depositions that still remain in that interim with a plea or a trial next cycle.
State.
What depositions remain?
I think that we've done some of the officers on the newer charge, but not as to the trafficking, which is obviously more problematic.
I'm fine with one last continuance. The state will stipulate to one last continuance.
Very good. The court will note for the clerk's minutes that this will be the last continuance. We'll come back on 9, 10, 9, and 9, 9 to the 7th of October.
The next one, Judge, is Clyde Griffin. Mr. Griffin is present and approaching. Judge, Mr. Griffin's case, I believe that we're newly appointed. Here's my contact information. Okay. In light of that, Judge, I would ask to set this for 10-9.
This is a relatively recent case. Continue and stay in touch with your attorney.
That's your notice. Next case, Judge, is Christopher Hamilton. This present and approaching, Judge. This is likewise a new case. It's a driving matter. Mr. Hamilton is actually diligently working to get his license reinstated. He's made some inquiries with the DMV, and he's making progress. I would like to continue this one full cycle to give him time to get his license back, and hopefully we'll resolve it by plea next cycle.
State okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will continue until 10.
Sir. Next one, Judge, is Pamela Hinson. Judge, this is 23 CF 818. This was a case where she was in custody last cycle, so I think that she believes that it's set for on Wednesday. If we could hold this case in abeyance until Wednesday. She has been in contact trying to set an appointment in the interim, and I will reach out to her and make sure she's there for court on Wednesday.
I'm just going to say continue it to 16, 8/16.
Thank you, Judge. The next one is Sean Jordan.
I may not have an updated docket by then, so just make sure I'm reminded of that.
Yes, Judge. Yes, ma'am. The next one is Sean Jordan, 23 CF 1339. Judge, I have not had any contact with Mr. Jordan.
The state would request a KPS.
We'll issue a KPS with no bond.
The next one I have, Judge, is Jeremy Knox, 22 CF 47. Judge, there's a waiver of appearance in this case. We're trying to do the deposition of the victim in this matter. I would ask for one last continuance with a plea or trial next cycle. It's my understanding that the victim in this case potentially is deceased, which is why that hasn't happened. But if we can confirm that, that might facilitate a resolution next cycle, Judge.
State,
No objection.
continue it until October 9th at 9 a.m. And the court will know, clerk's minutes can know the last.
Judge, next is Marlon Marshall. There's a waiver of appearance in his case. The state has offered a misdemeanor as a possible resolution in this matter. I just need Mr. Marshall to come in and sign a plea agreement. We've continued it a couple times to try to facilitate that. I would ask that this be the last time that we move it to docket day. And if he's not present, then I don't know if the state will want to. I'm fine with.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we continue until docket day with the caveat, or not the caveat, but with the order from the court that he must appear in person.
I will convey that to his last known contact information, and that he needs to attend in person, Judge.
And then hopefully you can get some resolution, or we can get prep up and get ready for a trial.
Yes, sir.
Do we have this set for a trial? Isn't this one of the
Well,
ones?
Judge,
My mind.
Nope, Judge, I believe you're correct. This was teed up for a trial last cycle. Then there was I believe an offer made that was accepted. And then we just need to get that paperwork done.
Yeah. It's a,
So that's my recollection.
it's a reasonable counteroffer from the state, and
Is there a waiver on file
Have
for
you been in
today?
communication with him, or is he just not responding?
my last communication was with his mother.
Is there a waiver on file today?
As today?
Yes.
I filed a waiver of appearance as to just his appearance as a pretrial, but not as of today specifically, though. It's just in general, waiver of appearance at pretrial.
Okay.
Next one I have Judges Logan McPherson.
Continue it until docket day, next week, 8/21, and with the further caveat that you must appear in person. That's March. I'm sorry, go ahead, Counsel.
The next one is Logan McPherson. The state has extended a misdemeanor offer in this case. I actually sent it to Mr. McPherson, and he did sign it, but he signed it in the wrong spot. So I've resent it to him and advised him where to sign it, and I'm asking to leave this on docket day. Hopefully we'll have a written plea agreement. This case will close.
No objection.
Very good, we'll continue until docket day, 8/21 for plea.
The next one is John Root, 21 CF 3104. Judge, I was contacted by a family member that he's actually in the hospital this morning, and I spoke to the state about this. I would ask for one last continuance.
Where are we at as far as
Judge, we were exploring
discovery and possible negotiations?
what happened. The long story short is that he was approved for drug court, but once he was entered into the program, they determined that based on some mental health issues that he was more appropriate for mental health court. So they moved him to mental health court, and then he wasn't approved for mental health court, transferred back to drug court, where they determined they couldn't assist him because of his mental health issues. So that's what's happened in that time frame. I'm still hoping that we're able to come to a resolution, Judge. I'm fine with this being the last continuance. It is an older case.
Court will continue, you want to continue until docket day or a full cycle?
You okay with docket day, just to find out what happens to him?
I think so.
Full cycle?
Just the docket day, Judge.
Judge, if this is the last continuance and it's being continued until oh, sorry, this isn't the case.
Yeah, it's not.
I
It's okay.
apologize.
I think we can move it to docket day, and then if we can't get something done docket day, we can announce a full cycle continuance last continuance.
Just so we can update as the status, Judge.
So 8/21 and
Judge, the next one is Angelica Starkweather. There's a waiver of appearance in her case. She is currently in treatment at the Calm House. She's doing well by all accounts. She's still doing treatment. We're just asking to continue this until she completes her treatment, and then we'll come to a resolution as to these cases. So I'd ask for one last continuance.
Your Honor, that's fine with the state.
we'll continue these cases until October 9th to 9 a.m.
Next judge is Jonathan Wallace. Judge, I have not had any contact with Mr. Wallace.
Judge, I would request a KPS. Taylor, this is my case, right? Wallace. Judge, I'd request a KPS.
Court will issue a KPS without bond.
The next one, Judge, is Armin Waters. He is present and approaching. He's before the court on 23 CF 1101. Judge, he's asking for one last continuance. This will be a plea on 10/9. He does reside out of state, and he's just trying to see whether or not he's going to enter a plea and stay in that location in Alabama, or if he's going to be moving here. But I think we're anticipating a plea, and he's staying in Alabama, but this will be a plea next cycle, Judge.
Court will continue this until 10/9.
Yeah, hold on, let me write this for you. October 9th, okay? Yeah. The last one that I have, Judge, is Travis Wingo. He is present and approaching. And Judge, this is a case where we're going to ask for a continuance of the depositions. The issue is the firearm or weapon that's subject to a minimum mandatory sentence. I'm asking to continue to do the deposition in that case. It's our position that that was not in his possession.
Very good. State.
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will continue this matter until 10/9 and 9.
Jeremy Knox.
I had to come back on top. 8/21. And then we'll look at possibly a full cycle at that point, but
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge.
thank you very much. Mr. Gates.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So are you, you're up?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Medina stepped out, and I will handle the floor until he gets back.
Okay.
Make sure I see faces. I'll start with Dean Fearson. Mr. Fearson. That'll be followed by James Flores. And I'd love to give the court numbers, but my docket's sitting on my desk at the office right now.
23 CF 1229.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Pearson and I talked. We got discovery on Friday of last week. He'd like an opportunity to review the body camera before making decisions. If we can continue his case to the October 9th pretrial.
This is a new case, so the court will continue until October 9th at 9 a.m. to allow for review of this.
October 9th. Make an appointment. Your Honor, next I've got is James Flores.
What about Fleming?
I have a waiver. I was going to address him later, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll come back. So Flores is 23 CF 1186.
Yes, Your Honor, I apologize. I have the case numbers. I don't have the docket number, where they're at in the docket.
That's all right.
Mr. Flores, Your Honor, has got some other cases that are already sentenced to the mental health court. The state attorney has been trying to get hold of the victim of this case to do a concurrent sentence. If we can continue his case to October 9th, my anticipation is it'll come off the docket before then.
State.
I would agree with that.
Court will continue this till October 9th at 9 a.m.
Now, next I've got is going to be Kawana Gamble. That'll be followed by Reno Gamble. Your Honor, this is Ms. Kawana Gamble before the court. At this time, if we can ask the court to let us continue the case. It is a newer case, and the offer from the state currently is 12-1 DOC, so I need to work the case through discovery.
State.
That's correct.
Court will continue this matter until October 9th at 9 a.m.
Reno Gamble. After Mr. Reno Gamble, Your Honor, will be Sandra Garcia. Your Honor, this is Mr. Gamble before the court with Ms. Basso. We have a PTI that has been signed by Mr. Gamble as well as the state. I have made sure to provide a couple different copies, so I have one for the court. I've got one on the gift probation and parole. We'll need to continue Mr. Gamble's case, and then it should come off the docket once Officer Barras signs the paperwork. We need the pretrial services officer to sign it, Your Honor. If we can schedule him for October the 9th, Your Honor.
Very good. We'll continue it for the PTI on October 9th.
Thank you, Your Honor. Next I've got is Sandra Garcia. That'll be followed by Christopher Garland. Your Honor, this is Ms. Garcia before the court. We have a plea agreement to be filed in her case. 22 points, 2.4 for the secondary offense. We have some prior misdemeanor reckless check cases. Sounds like, so you don't score more than 25 points. Okay. You score more than 24 for treatment. May I approach, Your Honor? Ms. Garcia and I will review the score sheet. You have no objection to the test?
You announce
Additional funding to the copy of that first. Your Honor, Ms. Garcia will be entering a plea of no contest in 23 CF 964. The sentence is going to be a withhold of adjudication. Should be placed on 24 months of probation. That'll be concurrent between both counts. We'd ask the court to waive the cost of supervision, standard court cost, PD fee, reserve over restitution to Mr. Luis Eduardo Argara Garcia. No contact with Mr. Garcia. Required to do an anti-theft course. The state has seen a copy of the certificate in this case, Your Honor, for the anti-theft course, so that has already been completed. The state has agreed to an early termination at 15 months if all obligations have been completed, including the restitution, and there have been no violations. And Ms. Garcia is entering the plea without having the opportunity to review the discovery, any body camera, and any of the other evidence as well.
That's correct.
Ms. Garcia, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the information you're about to provide this court is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure you understand what you're signing and you're doing it freely and voluntarily.
Yes, sir.
So, I see that you have the same plea agreement that your attorney just announced. It's contained in a written plea agreement that you've signed. First
Yes, sir.
question is, did you read this closely?
Yes, sir.
And did you go over it closely with your attorney, make sure you understand all the legal issues?
Yes, sir.
Importantly, waiving valuable right to test all this, go to trial, review it, confront witnesses, et cetera. You're waiving that in order to have this final resolution.
Yes, sir.
Here today, is that what you,
Yes, sir.
that what you want to do?
Yes, sir.
I believe it's in your best interest to do so.
Yes, sir.
You had all your legal questions answered by your attorney.
Yes, sir.
Based upon that, the court will accept your plea agreement. And there'll be withhold of adjudication and 24 months probation on both counts. They will be served concurrently, so it'll be one probationary period of 24 months. There are various costs that are contained in here. Reserve over restitution. If there is restitution that's offered, I'm sure it's gone over with your attorney, but if they seek restitution, you'll have an opportunity to object.
Okay.
So that's not being, it's not like whatever they say. That's just kind of moving that to the side to see if they choose to do that. Importantly, there is no contact with the victim in here, Mr. Eduardo Arriga Garcia. That's important.
Right.
One-sided, stay away from him. You run into it, you're in violation of your probation. Guess what happens? Orange.
Oh, yeah.
So stay away from him. Don't, if you run into him out in public, just walk away from him. It's not going to be an issue, but you got to be careful on that. If he walks up to you, you're in violation, he's not. Okay?
Okay.
It's not a dual kind. It's not like, stay away on both sides.
Okay, I work for a structural engineer, and I know that he works for one of our clients. So if he was to come into our office, what do I need to do?
That's a very good question. I don't have a problem making, putting something in there about that, if the state would be in agreement. But we do need.
I don't know that he would, I'm just
I understand
saying
that,
what
but
happens.
I believe that if that's a possibility, I think you ought to.
Yes, Your Honor, and I think the last time we had this issue, we wrote it up as intentional contact with the state's approval.
I would approve that.
Okay.
So I'll try to figure out how to write it. how would the court prefer me to put that in writing? No intentional contact with the victim?
Sure. So what that generally means, if he comes in, just use common sense. Don't walk out, get in his face and say something.
I'm not. I'm very
It's just-
compliant.
Just common sense, you know, this is way.
I just wanted to know what would happen,
No,
so,
that's actually an excellent question.
yes, sir.
Thing about these plea agreements, we're not trying to trick you.
Oh, I
We're
know.
trying to make sure everybody understands what they're doing, so yeah, that's a very legitimate question.
Okay.
Basically, you don't want to seek him out.
Oh, I'm not going to. Okay, so where did I sign?
Initial right there.
Okay.
If the court will excuse my chicken scratches as though intentional contact with Mr. Garcia.
Okay, very good. Okay, based upon that, the court, like I say, will accept the plea agreement as stated.
Okay.
Good luck.
Right over there, Ms. Garcia, check my probation. Next I've got is Christopher Garland, Your Honor. Christopher Garland. Sorry, I'm blind. Sorry, what did I say? After that will be Tremel Gilbert, Your Honor. Your Honor, this is Mr. Garland before the court in 23 CF 220. We do have a plea agreement to be filed in his case. I think we talked about a score sheet before, but you don't score prison. Just out of trouble. Your Honor, may I approach with a score sheet and plea agreement, Your Honor? No objection to the score sheet as is. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Garland will be entering a plea of no contest as charged. It's going to be withhold of adjudication, all counts. And the felony counts, the first two, count 1 and count 2, will be placed on 15 months of probation concurrent. Count 3, the misdemeanor count will be a year of probation concurrent. Waive costs of supervision, required to do a substance abuse evaluation within 30 days, and he recommended treatment to begin within 60 days. Random urinalysis, 50 hours of community service work, no contact with Ms. Teresa Solhoff, restitution in the amount of $200 to Ms. Teresa Solhoff, standard court costs, public defender fee, cost of investigation in the amount of $104.65 to the Niceville Police Department. Mr. Garland will have to maintain gainful employment or complete 3 job applications per week, and then do the anti-theft course, which can be completed online.
Mr. Garland, would you raise your right hand, sir? Swear or affirm the information you're about to provide to the court is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Stated agreement.
We are.
So, Mr. Garland, you heard your attorney state the terms of the plea agreement, and as he was stating them, I was reviewing it on your plea and sentencing agreement that you have signed. The first question is, did you read this plea agreement closely?
Yes, sir.
And you go over it in detail with your attorney, make sure you had to understand all the legal ramifications of this plea agreement?
Yes, sir.
You understand that by entering this plea agreement, importantly, you're waiving some right of legal rights.
Yes.
Right to go to trial, contest this, force the state to prove the case. Waiving all that, so you have a final resolution. You believe that's in your best interest?
Yes, sir.
And you have had all your legal questions answered by your attorney.
Yes.
Based upon that testimony, you can accept your plea. There'll be a withhold of adjudication on all 3 counts. And on the felony counts, court's sentencing the defendant to 15 months probation on each count. They'll be served concurrent. On the misdemeanor count 3, you'll be sentenced to 11 months, 29 days probation, again, concurrent with the other 2. So it's basically a maximum of 15 months probation. There's substance abuse evaluation and recommended treatment is very important. And within 30 and 60 days, some other things, UAs, community service work, no contact with the victim, Ms. Solhoff, and restitution and court cost as outlined in the anti-theft course. You have a job?
Yes, sir.
Easy to get a job done. I don't think we need to put in there, I think we just need to mandate it for. No, it's good to have that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, next I've got is going to be Tremel Gilbert. After Mr. Gilbert will be Kenneth Gilman. Your Honor, this is Mr. Gilbert before the court. If we can actually schedule him for September the 12th as a miscellaneous, my anticipation is we either going to be entering a plea to the state's offer or entering a plea and setting it for sentencing. I didn't want to go a full cycle continuance. Felt September 12th would be plenty of time.
So you want to do it,
September the 12th, yes, Your Honor.
what is September the 12th?
It's a miscellaneous date, Your Honor.
September 12th.
Yes, Your Honor.
You want to go ahead and set him up for a pretrial?
No, Your Honor, my
That'll be
anticipation.
resolved in the miscellaneous.
Yes, Your Honor. It's a DOC offer, and my anticipation is either taking that offer or entering a plea to the court and setting sentencing. I wanted some more time to speak with Mr. Gilbert about the potentials for a downward departure if we were to go that route.
And
Thank you, Your Honor.
thank you.
Your Honor, next I've got is going to be Mr. Kenneth Gilman. That'll be followed by Clayton Glover. Your Honor, this is Mr. Gilman before the court. It is a bit of an older case, but we've been having issues getting the restitution hammered down. Mr. Lasko was kind enough to agree to a set amount. Mr. Gilman has been making a payment on that. Tried to pay it earlier, but apparently Crestview clerk office told him he couldn't pay it in part, had to pay it in whole. Came down here this morning, the clerk's office here told him, nope, you can pay it in part. So he made a payment this morning. Based upon that, the state attorney's office has agreed to continue the case, allowing him to finish out the restitution. If we could set him for October the 9th.
Very good. We'll continue this for until October the 9th.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Madam Clerk, do we know why the Crestview office would say it had to be paid in whole versus in part?
Is there some restrictions?
Well, it's just a $3.50 fee every time you pay, so we take partials.
Thank you.
Might not have understood.
Maybe it was the way I put it on the minute sheet, 743.83 to be paid by today.
Okay.
I guess I should have said, can take.
I doubt seriously it's because you did.
No, Your Honor, I anticipated it was probably there was miscommunication.
Just communication. I'm just being facetious.
Your Honor, next I've got is Clayton Glover to be followed by David Golden, Your Honor. 15 points. You're good. Your Honor, this is Mr. Glover before the court. We have a plea agreement to be filed. We have no objection to the score sheet. If I may approach, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Glover will be entering a plea of no contest in case number 23 CF 222. It's going to be adjudication of guilt. As a condition of 24 months of probation, he will be required to complete 30 days county jail with credit for all time served. Defendant can complete the jail sentence, the balance as of weekends, as long as he schedules that with his probation officer. I did say weekends, however, the court knows that I typically explain to the clients that that doesn't mean weekends, it just means 3-day intervals as scheduled by your probation officer. Restitution, standard court cost, public defender fee, restitution in the amount of $62.98. We have tropical waves. Obviously, I don't know, well, I'll say obviously, but I don't know if the court's aware of the tropical waves location was bulldozed as part of the Brooks Bridge remodel. But I do believe it's Alvin's Island, so I don't know how the clerk will want to address that restitution. No trespassing, again, at that location, but it is now been bulldozed. So state has agreed to automatic early termination upon the completion of 30 days jail and the payment of restitution.
State?
No objection, that's the agreement.
Mr. Glover, would you raise your right hand, sir? You swear or affirm the information you're about to provide this court is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
You heard your attorney state the terms of the plea agreement, which I see are written down in your written plea agreement that you signed. Have you read this closely?
Yes, sir.
Gone over it in detail with your attorney?
Yes, sir.
You had all your legal questions answered?
Yes, sir.
Lots of stuff in here. Waiving the right, legal right. Big thing is you waive the right to go to a trial. It's the final adjudication of your case here today. Limits your ability, you do have the right to appeal this, but limits certain aspects of your ability to appeal. You understand all that? You've gone over it?
Yes, sir.
With your attorney? Okay, you believe it's in your best interest?
Yes, sir, I do.
Based upon that, the court accepted your plea agreement to be an adjudication of guilt. And as a condition of the 24 months of probation, will be 30 days of county jail with credit for all time served. And you'll have to work out with probation if you do it 3-day watch the weekend, okay? So they're doing this, obviously, I assume, to try and preserve the withhold this case.
Mayor, this adjudication, Mr. Glover actually has a full-time job, and we want him to keep the job.
That's always preferable. I know they don't always seem like it, but it's always a better solution than working out. Appreciate the state's cooperativeness and trying to be a little outside the box on this. So, got the restitution is payable here, along with court costs, et cetera. And there is an automatic termination upon the completion of 30 days in jail and payment of restitution.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
No, sir.
You have the right, even though you're centering this, the right to appeal within 30 days. Thank you.
Your Honor, next I've got is David Golden. That'll be followed by Michael Gonzalez. Michael Gonzalez. Your Honor, this is Mr. Golden before the court. He is newer on the docket, and discovery was sent over late last week. I think it's actually sitting at my desk right now. If we can continue Mr. Golden's case, I'd like to review discovery. The state has also kind of agreed to amended offer pending a restitution payment, and that'll give us time to do that as well.
Very good. State okay with continuing until 10/9?
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will continue this until October 9th at 9.
Your Honor, next is going to be Michael Gonzalez.
And, sorry, is Mr. Golden still here?
He is.
Yes. Hold on, Mr. Golden. Question?
Did you say I made an amended offer?
We discussed restitution.
The possibility of an amended offer, correct. Just checking.
Okay. We're good, Mr. Golden. Thank you.
Your Honor, this is Mr. Michael Gonzalez before the court in 23 CF 1252. I did get discovery, Your Honor. If we can continue Mr. Gonzalez's case, I'd like to meet with him and go over in detail before making a decision on a resolution.
Full cycle continues?
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll continue this till 10, 9, and 9 a.m.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, next I've got is going to be Raheem Gordon. That'll be followed by Diamond Henderson. Your Honor, this is Mr. Gordon before the court in 23 CF 1285 and 23 CF 1286. Again, I got discovered late last week. If we can continue Mr. Gordon's cases based upon my conversations with the state, this will be one that will have to schedule depositions and work through discovery.
State okay? Continue.
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll continue this matter until October 9th, 9 a.m. for the next cycle.
Your Honor, next is going to be Diamond Henderson. That'll be followed by Jennifer Hennessy Alger. If I can have a second, Your Honor.
Hold on a second. You said Diamond, is that on my, it's not on my, diamond.
Yes.
The last name is Sanders.
Yeah. 191 on the docket.
Got it.
You can even hit some button.
Your Honor, this is Mr. Henderson before the court, Diamond Henderson. The state and I have discussed a potential resolution in his case. if we can bring him back for docket day as a plea continue. I do, and I was letting Mr. Anderson know, apparently there is a PC warrant for him for a theft. He's adamant he has no idea what that is about.
Don't anything.
Your next I've got is going to be Jennifer Hennessy Alger. That'll be followed by Gerardo Hernandez Soto. And this is Ms. Hennessy Alger before the court. I spoke with her this morning about some of the issues in the case. If we can continue her case to the October 9th date, she's got some information she's provided me that I'd like to take a look at, and that may be helpful in a resolution in her case.
No objection.
We'll continue this matter until 10/9/9
Your next I've got is Gerardo Hernandez Soto. That'll be followed by Madison Humphreys. This is Mr. Hernandez Soto before the court. It is his first time on the docket, and we got discovery late last week. If I can continue his case, the current offer is a DOC offer. I'd like to review discovery with Mr. Hernandez Soto.
No objection.
Without objection, the court will continue this matter until 10/9.
Thank you.
Next I've got, Your Honor, is going to be Madison Humphreys. That'll be followed by Martez Jones. Your Honor, this is Ms. Humphreys before the court. It's a PTI recall. I had probation verify that she did have proof of her community service work that we verified this afternoon. All that's left is an outstanding court cost payment. She tried to make that payment this morning, but was told because the case is up here, she could not make a payment. So I can either send her downstairs to let her make a payment and bring her back up, or we can leave her for Monday with the intent that once that's paid, the state will dismiss the charges.
Okay.
I'll let Madam Clerk tell me what would be the easiest.
I can create a receipt right now, and
I'd like to handle it today, but that's just me. If we can pass Ms. Humphreys, Your Honor, if we can get that handled, we may be able to get it handled today. Your Honor, next is going to be Martez Jones.
She's going to go down and pay it and then bring it back up.
I know we've done it before, and that's why I want to make sure Madam Clerk is on board with that. Your Honor, this is Mr. Martez Jones. The state and I have discussed this when we do have a misdemeanor plea offer that we've got hammered down. The only missing piece is restitution. The state has asked to bring him back on Monday for them to get the restitution amount, and at that point, we'll be entering plea to the misdemeanor.
Is that Monday?
Yes, Your Honor, docket day.
Docket day?
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll come back, we'll continue this till docket day, 8/21.
Your Honor, next I've got is going to be Dramus King. After Mr. King will be Christopher Kistner. Your Honor, this is Mr. King before the court. May I approach with a signed plea agreement, Your Honor?
Sure.
No objection to the floor sheet. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. King will be entering a plea of no contest as charged. The sentence is going to be withhold of adjudication, placed on 30 months of probation concurrent between counts 1 and 2. We're going to ask the court to waive the cost of supervision. Standard court cost, I have a $100 public defender fee. It's actually be $150 public defender fee. Substance abuse evaluation within 90 days, recommended treatment within 120 days, and then random year analysis.
This is case number 23 CF 460.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. State, an agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. King, would you please raise your right hand? Or affirm the information you're about to provide this court is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
So you heard your attorney state the terms of your plea agreement. I
Yes,
see
sir.
those same terms are contained in the written plea agreement that you've signed. Have you read this
Yes,
plea
sir.
agreement closely?
Yes, sir.
Have you gone over it in detail with your attorney? Make sure you had all your legal questions answered.
Yes, sir.
You feel like this is in your best interest here today?
Yes,
You understand by entering this plea agreement here today, you're waiving some valuable legal rights, right? You go to trial, force the state to prove their case all. You're waiving that in order to get a resolution here today.
yes, sir.
And you've had all your legal questions answered.
Yes, sir.
Based upon that, the court will accept your plea here today. There'll be a withhold of adjudication on both counts. And the court will sentence you to 30 months probation for each of the 2 counts. They will be served concurrent, same time, so it's a total of 30 months. Waive cost of supervision, court costs and fees that are contained standard. You must, within 90 days, do a substance abuse evaluation, and any recommended treatment to start in 120 days. Of course, random UAs. Any questions?
No, sir.
You've got 30 days to appeal.
And Your Honor, the last one. Last one I've got right now is going to be Michael Kistner, Your Honor.
Okay?
Should be before the court in 23 CF 1164. Your Honor, if we can continue Mr. Kistner's case, he has provided me with some information that I would like to review and potentially send over to the state in reciprocal, and that'll give me time to do that.
Full cycle.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay?
No objection.
No objection, the court will continue with that until 10/9.
Judge, if I may take one that's out of custody. This is Marcus Clark. He was actually, no, he was actually in custody, so he's assigned Wednesday's court date, but he bonded out, and he's here today because he bonded out and thought he was supposed to be here today. It's case number 23 CF 661. His name is Marcus Clark. And he's present, Judge. He would ask to continue this for one cycle. I anticipate a probable resolution on the next court date. We just need to talk about the discovery.
Okay?
Your Honor, that's fine. This is in due case.
Very good. Based upon that objection, the court will continue this until October 9th.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I might begin with Cameron B. Accardi, and then after Mr. Accardi will be David T. Adams. Mr. Accardi is before the court in 23 CF 498. He is, I think, 175 on the docket. If I may approach with an agreement, Your Honor. It's been signed by the parties. It is in your resolution to the court. Announce it, Your Honor. I need to pull it up on my phone. Because I apologize, our computers were out this morning, so the court is going to see a little bit more of my handwriting than I would prefer.
Understood.
I know the court would prefer, anyway. Your Honor,
I like the big print.
thank you, Your Honor. At this time, Your Honor, under this agreement that's been signed by all parties, there would be an adjudication of guilt to lesser included offense misdemeanor, resisting officer without violence, first-degree misdemeanor, and Madam Clerk, I have the statutory reference. There would be 11 months, 29 days probation, and that would be supervised by JCS if we can provide a card to Mr. Accardi. The $270 court costs, 24 hours community service, maintain gainful employment, or 2 applications a week, basic driver improvement course, no weapons or firearms, no alcohol, no drugs except as prescribed, random UAs. Thank you, Your Honor.
State agreement.
Yes, Your Honor, that is the state's agreement.
Mr. Accardi, would you raise your right hand? Swear or affirm the information about the life's course of truth, nothing but the true self?
Yes, sir.
You heard your attorney state the terms of your plea agreement. I see those same terms are contained in your plea agreement that you signed.
Yes, sir.
Have you read this closely?
Yes, I have.
And gone over it in detail with your attorney?
Yes, sir, I
I'm
have.
sure you understand all the legal ramifications of what this plea is. It does affect your legal rights fairly dramatically. You're waiving some important legal rights in order to get a final resolution.
Yes, sir.
You understand that?
Yes, sir.
You understand that by doing this will be, like I say, other than the probation and the other things that are contained in here, this will be a final resolution here today.
Yes, sir.
I
I
believe it's in your best interest to do that.
Yes, sir.
Based upon that testimony, the court will accept your plea. There'll be an adjudication of guilt to a lesser included misdemeanor of resisting arrest without violence. Court will sentence you to 11 months, 29 days probation to be supervised by JCS. You've got the court costs and the employment, the other things that are contained in this, and of course, no drugs, random UAs, etc. Any questions?
No, sir.
And you understand you have 30 days to appeal this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Just give them a call on that card.
No, you're going to have to report immediately there today to that address on the card, sir.
Gotcha.
Not to them, to the people on the card. Your Honor, after Mr. David T. Adams will be D'Angelo S. Armstrong. Mr. Adams is before the court in 22 CF 2573, docket 176. Your Honor, at this time, I am requesting for Mr. Adams to come back for docket day. I believe it probably will be plea or trial unless the state sees otherwise. Basically, unfortunately, we haven't been able to get him into a treatment facility. The parties more or less agree that that would be optimum, but we haven't found a place. So there is a possible way, we may be able to work it out on docket day, but it may need to go to trial this cycle.
Your Honor, I will confirm with the witnesses, and I will let the court know that I think that we should at least attempt to try it this time.
And Your Honor, there has been some discussion with my client, but I did not have a good faith basis for a motion to suppress. The allegation was there was a trespass situation. I don't believe he was charged with trespass. It's certainly not part of the state's formal charging document. Nevertheless, I did not see a motion to suppress based on a search incident to arrest scenario, Your Honor. So I think it's probably going to go to trial if we can't work out a straight jail. The state had an 11/29 jail offer that was responsive to his 60 to 90-day jail offer. He is, Miss Sharpless, he is willing to maybe do 6 months jail. I don't know. We may be able to work it out, in other words.
Very good. So we'll come back, docket day 8/21/90.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Stay in contact with your attorney, okay?
After Mr. Armstrong will be Mr. Borum, Your Honor. Your Honor, D'Angelo S. Armstrong's before the court in 23 CF 1341. His case, I believe, is docket 181. And, Your Honor, this is his first time up. Rather than waive his appearance, though, the state, I believe, has had contact with the alleged victim, his wife, Amanda Armstrong, about changing the provisions of pretrial release to no violent contact. I was hoping we could get that resolved today. Could the state stipulate to a clerk record to change to no violent contact?
Your Honor, I do believe that the state can stipulate that.
I don't have an agreement.
I assume that's after consultation with the victim?
Yes, Your Honor. I had talked to the victim, and then I put the state, I gave contact information for his wife, the alleged victim, and she was wanting to change to no violent contact. That's confirmed, Your Honor.
Your Honor, that's accurate.
Not that I don't trust and believe Mr. Medina, but I need to hear from the state. Okay, based upon the stipulation of the parties, the court will grant the pretrial release to allow for no violent contact with the alleged victim. And what's
Could
the
we?
name of the victim is?
I'm sorry. The name of the victim is Amanda Armstrong.
Amanda Armstrong. So it does allow you to be around her, it doesn't limit your contact, but it does put everybody on high alert. And if there's an issue, they're gonna probably be looking right for you, even if it's more complicated than that. Okay?
And thank you, Your Honor. If we could continue to October 9, I believe would be the next pretrial.
Correct.
Thank you.
October 9th at 9 a.m.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. All right. Very good. Your Honor, after Mr. Borum will be J.C. Burns. Mr. Borum is approaching in 22 CF 1169. His docket number was 185. Your Honor, this is one that's last continuance per last cycle, and we've done the depositions. At this time, we don't have a resolution. It's possible that a resolution will occur. It's one where he has been accepted for treatment at Keaton. There are also outpatient alternatives for him. He lives in Atlanta. He's got a good roof over his head now, and has 2 jobs and working on a welding license and so forth. So we may be able to work it out, but I think the state's position is we do need to return docket day a week from today. It's burdensome to him from Atlanta. There is a witness from the state's perspective that's former Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office deputy who now lives in Michigan. So there may be some issues of his availability. I don't know. But I think we hopefully, maybe something will happen. We resolve it. Otherwise, it's plea or trial, I think, this cycle, Your Honor.
Very good. Court will continue this matter till docket day for plea or trial.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
After Mr. Burns, Your Honor, is Gabriel F. Chavez. Your Honor, J.C. Burns is before the court, 23 CF 1163. I'm kind of halfway here with the court, Your Honor. The clerk has determined he's not eligible for the public defender. I think that that's the latest information. I don't see any reason that that would not be applied by the court, but he may want to address the court about his situation. But he was determined by the clerk's office to be not eligible.
I'm not eligible. I guess I need to find an attorney, so I need to have some more time for the pre-date. Please.
Could the public defender be relieved and him get an October 9 court date, Your Honor?
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll continue this until October 9, and we'll relieve the public defender, and hopefully before then you have somebody that will enter an appearance.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, sir.
Whether or not you have an attorney, though, make sure and come back on October 9th.
After Mr. Gabriel Chavez is Mr. Evan Clardy. And we have an agreement, Your Honor, for Mr. Gabriel P. Chavez. Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes, sir.
In 23 CF 1061, Mr. Chavez is 198 on the docket. And it is an agreement for a misdemeanor, Your Honor. I did need the state's signature. Yeah. Sorry, Your Honor, I thought we had the signatures. Better late than never. May I approach, Your Honor?
May. Thank you. Could you please announce?
Yes, Your Honor, I apologize.
That's
I'm
all right, take your time.
pulling up family photos instead of copies of the document. Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Under the agreement, Your Honor, there will be an adjudication of guilt to a lesser included offense of driving while license canceled, suspended, or revoked. It's actually, this was going to be JCS supervision. I'm sorry. I apologize, Judge. Madam Clerk, I've given the first degree misdemeanor statute reference. It will be 11 months, 29 days. This is Chavez.
Chavez, sorry.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Sorry, I thought you said
That's the next client.
I didn't mean to.
So, Your Honor, he would be supervised by JCS. I'm sorry, it was a last minute change to probation, so. There'll be, they've given you the card, okay? And 270 court costs, 150 PD fees, outstanding monetary obligation. Well, that is moot, Your Honor. I can strike that because they'll have the period of probation to pay the applicable costs and fees. Should I strike that, Your Honor, or is that understood?
Why don't you go ahead and strike it just so it keeps it, you also got to put in the
JCS, yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry, I had 270 court costs. Did Madam Clerk have a different amount?
Yes, it was a criminal traffic.
So what would the amount be? 300 even, Your Honor. I'm changing to 300 from 270. Okay. So you'll need to bring that paperwork to JCS. Thank you. So in addition to striking the outstanding monetary obligation to go into collections after 6 months language, we inserted JCS. And also he will need to show proof of valid driver's license or eligibility. My understanding is he anticipates being able to have everything paid off. There may be some problem with points, and that's the intent, is that the eligibility would be for financial reasons, but if there's some sort of point problem where he cannot get the license, he's satisfied the condition.
State.
Your Honor, that is the state's argument.
Mr. Chavez, would you raise your right hand, sir? Do you swear or affirm the information you're about to provide this court is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
You heard your attorney state the terms of the plea agreement?
Yes, sir.
Put your hand. And I see those same terms are contained in your written plea agreement that you've signed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you read this closely?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you've gone over it in detail with your attorney, make sure you understand the legal ramifications.
Yes, sir.
So you understand that you're waiving the right to go to a trial, and this will be a final adjudication of your case. That's important. And the fees and costs, I know you wrote down JCS on something, but I can't find where you wrote it down here, so I think you wrote it down on yours and not mine. But anyway, I want to make sure that you can do it by JCS, because that's a little bit different in my notes. Did you put it in there?
I think I gave the court the wrong copy. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
That's all right, I just wanted to make sure that
You're
it was
absolutely
clear in there
right.
so that
I wrote it in multiple copies, but not the most important one. Thank you.
Didn't get crossways. You scratched off the other thing.
Yes, sir.
So, and you must, show proof of the driver's license or eligibility during that term. So this will be a lesser included charge of misdemeanor driving while license suspended, and you're sentenced to 1129 months of probation. Okay, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
You'll need to report today.
Okay, yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
After Mr. Clardy will be Ms. Colvin. Devin M. Clardy is before the court in 23 CF 1154. Mr. Clardy is docket 201. And we have a plea for a misdemeanor, Your Honor. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to ask that. May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes. Would you please announce?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, under the agreement, the parties have agreed that he would change his plea to no contest in exchange for a withhold of adjudication to a lesser included offense misdemeanor resisting without violence, resisting officer without violence. And Madam Clerk, it's first degree misdemeanor, and I listed the statute. There'd be 11 months, 29 days probation. That would be supervised by JCS. And we asked the court to approve of online reporting. He does live in Alabama, and I believe online reporting would mean that he has to, of course, maintain compliance with whatever the directions of JCS are, but they usually can facilitate an out-of-court supervision. He has to do anger management class, and of course we'll have to make arrangements for doing that in Alabama if you're in Alabama. You'll have to maintain gainful employment or complete 2 applications per week, letter of apology to the troopers, $270 court costs, $150 public defender fees, no drugs except as prescribed, no firearms, random UAs, 24 hours community service. As I stated, supervision would be by JCS with online reporting, and he may live in Alabama.
Okay.
Your Honor, that is a state's agreement.
Clardy, would you raise your right hand, swear or affirm the information you're about to provide is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Heard your attorney state the terms of your plea agreement, and those same terms are contained on the written plea agreement that you signed. Have you read this closely?
Yes, sir.
And have you gone over it in detail with your attorney, made sure you had all your legal questions answered?
Yes, sir.
Understand that you're waiving the right to go to a trial in order to get a final resolution of this case?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe this is in your best interest to do this?
Yes, sir.
Based upon that, the court will accept your plea agreement. There'll be a withhold to the lesser included resisting arrest without violence. Be sentenced to 11 months, 29 days, probation. Probation will be supervised by JCS. You'll be allowed online reporting if you live in Alabama. And those some other anger management requirements, other requirements, fees, etc., that are all part of this agreement. So there are random UAs. There's going to be some coordination if you're up in Alabama, but they'll walk you through it. So, yeah, court will accept the plea agreement. Go ahead and contact JCS as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions?
No, sir.
Did he get the? I did. Okay, thank you. And it's with an adjudication. Does he need to be fingerprinted on a petty theft? Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the next. I was looking at my next plea, Judge. I'm so sorry, sir. It's a withhold. I apologize, sir. I was getting ahead of myself. Sorry. Apologize. Your Honor, next is Ms. Simonetta Colvin. After Ms. Colvin is Armin D. Culbreth. Your Honor, if I may approach with Ms. Colvin's agreement, it's for a misdemeanor. And I added asterisk similar to the last individual, she does live in Alabama, and I'll be referencing that otherwise as I go through the agreement. Under this agreement, there would be an adjudication of guilt on count 1 as charged, which was a first-degree misdemeanor petty theft, and to a lesser included offense misdemeanor petty theft, also first-degree misdemeanor with the statute referenced on count 2. Your Honor, it might be better writing if I make clear that the lesser included offense was on count 2. May I have it back just to add a clarification on that, Judge? Sure. I just don't want there to be any ambiguity. I apologize. So I'm just adding an insert of to count 2. You see? Sorry about that. You're right. Thank you. And she would have to do 11 months, 29 days concurrent probation, and that's to be supervised by JCS. And we ask that she be eligible for online reporting. As I stated, she does live in Alabama. That's correct, right?
Yes.
And she would need to do the anti-theft course, $270 court costs, $150 public defender fees. And she's agreed to liquidate the restitution to Zoomies. It's spelled Z-U-M-I-E-Z, I think, which is a business in Destin Commons, in the amount of $171.75.
Very good. State and agreement.
That is the state's agreement.
And would you raise your right hand? Please swear or affirm the information you're about to provide is the truth, nothing but the true self you got.
I do.
You heard your attorney state the terms of the plea agreement that I see are contained in this written agreement.
Yes, sir.
Have you, which you signed, looks like it,
Yes, sir.
have you read this plea agreement closely?
Yes, sir.
And you've gone over it in detail with your attorney to make sure you had all your legal questions answered?
Yes, sir.
Heard me state all day long, waiving some valuable legal rights. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
I believe it's in your best interest to enter into this plea agreement?
Yes, sir.
You have all your questions answered?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Based upon that, court will accept your plea agreement. There'll be an adjudication of guilt on both counts. And count 2 will be a lesser included count of petty theft. Court will sentence you to 11 months, 29 days in count. Probation, sorry. It's been a long day. Probation on both counts. They'll be served concurrently. You'll be able to be supervised by JCS, that may allow you to live in Alabama, be supervised over state line. And there'll be, in addition, online class, anti-theft class, as well as some fees and costs and restitution that are contained in the agreement.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
I go to here?
Yes, ma'am, that's who you go see. Your Honor, after Mr. Culbreth will be Mr. Donaldson. Your Honor, Mr. Armin D. Culbreth is before the court in docket 204, case 23 CF 1247. I do believe his parents are with him from Alabama in support of him. Your Honor, we have received a large amount of data and video information. We had some initial technical difficulties, but we think we have resolved those difficulties. I do ask, this is the first time up, that we continue this to next cycle so that I can go over the evidence with my client. If we could continue to October 9, I don't think there's any objection.
There was no objection or anything.
Without objection, the court will continue this matter until October 9th at 9 a.m. when it's pre-trial.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Stay in touch with your attorney, sir.
Thank you. Your Honor, after Mr. Donaldson will be Mr. Michael Bernard Evans, Jr. Your Honor, Talal T. Donaldson is before the court in 22 CF 1610. Mr. Donaldson's case is 22 CF 1610. I have filed a motion to relieve the public defender. That is set for docket day a week from today. I do hope that Mr. Donaldson will get up with me, but basically it's a pretty old case, and he hasn't met with me. There have been a couple of no-shows, including most recently in July. It is from the standpoint of the state's basically score sheet, it's a serious situation with a DOC offer. I don't control the state's offer. I don't control his prior record, which apparently has a lot of points, so that if charges were to stick, it's very easy for him to score prison. The state has made a prison offer, and of course, the case has been going on a while. I have done what I needed to do, including depositions, but I do need to meet with my client, and maybe we can get that resolved before docket day. Otherwise, are we going to be a clear trial this cycle?
If we can leave it on docket day as a clear continue and see if he meets with Mr. Medina, that's okay.
Okay, that's fine. Let's do clear continue. And it is, like I said, we may move, if we can start working together, it may move things. But I understand a client's concern. If the count 3 tampering were to be dropped, then basically it's a single felony count is for driving, a third conviction or more driving license charge, but it still is the state's position that it's a DOC case, and I can't make the state make a more palatable offer. So it's a very serious situation that he and I need to talk about. Thank you.
Very good. So we'll come back next week, next Monday, 9 o'clock. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Sir? Yeah. Mr. Corey Chavis did a waiver. He doesn't have to be here. Yeah. You can wait if you want to, but. Oh, no. Okay. I have a waiver for you. Okay, sir. Your Honor, Michael Bernard Evans Jr. is before the court in docket 215, 22 CF 67. I'm asking to return on docket day with Mr. Evans for a plea or continue. We have received a very large amount of information from the state that I need to go over with him. The state's not willing at this time to just do straight jail for 6 months, which was, the state's offer was 6 months followed by 4 years probation. There's a question of whether there will be restitution to the store, which I think is currently Cumberland Farms. And so the state's going to be looking at things, but if we can bring them back in a week for a plea or continue, I think the state's okay with that.
Very good. Based upon the stipulation, we'll continue this matter until next week. On docket day 21, we'll come back and look at where we're at.
All right, see you then. Your Honor, next is Mary Mason. Mary Mason is before the court in 21 CF 2586. It's docket number 216. And I do think that Ms. Mason, against my recommendation, is rejecting the state's offer of pretrial intervention and has indicated she would like to go to trial. That's certainly her right, and I'll be representing her to the best of my ability at trial. I suppose it would be this cycle, so she can come back for docket day.
Judge, to be completely frank with the court, I was not expecting it to go to trial this cycle. I do need time to speak with the expert from FDLE, as I do need the expert to be able to come here and testify to the substance that was found in this, the defendant's car. What I will say is that I'm prepared to withdraw my offer of a PTI on the record today, And I want the defendant to be aware that if she thinks that she's going to trial and she's going to argue that freer sniffs of vehicles are improper, are inaccurate, any of those things, I will be filing a motion in limine in this case that will stop that type of argument, and I believe it will be dispositive. So I think she needs to be aware of that before I revoke my offer on the record.
So you're with,
I would, Your Honor.
why don't we,
We're going to trial.
why don't we come back on docket day, 8/21, which is a week from now, and we'll either plea or continue, with the understanding if we continue, it will be a last continuance.
Yes, sir, because it's been
Because
2
it
years.
was not listed, it wasn't a last continuance, so it didn't really put you on notice. So that, I'm fine with that.
Your Honor,
Y'all can, you know,
Your Honor, she indicated this has been 2 years, but it's been,
October 9th.
the public defender received the case after a private lawyer had it for a considerable period of time.
we all can all agree on one thing, ma'am. It takes way too long for any of these cases to move through.
I understand that.
We didn't have 3,000 open criminal cases in this county. We move a lot faster, but we
I
do.
understand.
We do the best we can.
I know, sir.
And public defender is very, very diligent.
So I apologize. What is next Monday?
That would be docket day.
Okay. But the day, my math, I'm
21.
21. Okay.
Judge, can I revoke my offer on the record?
You may.
May
Want to keep your offer until docket day?
please keep it open until docket day?
Absolutely, but she needs to understand that if we go to trial and we're successful, I will be asking for 11 months and 29 days in jail.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I understand.
Your Honor, my other cases is to, oh yes, this is a gentleman that Mr. Jesse Anderson is before the court, Your Honor. I don't think he has a completed, I think he was determined ineligible or something. I'm not sure exactly what, but I don't think he has a public defender at this time. Jesse Anderson, 23 CF 1127. I think I would
on
mind.
our docket? I don't know. I'm trying to.
Your Honor, I think he was on the no attorney.
It was on the docket this morning.
I think he might have been here at some point this morning. There might have been a misunderstanding because I saw him this morning.
Yeah,
Yes,
I've been
sir.
here since 8:30.
He was probably trying to talk to me anymore.
Hold on a second.
Did you?
Madam Clerk, do you know why he's not currently approved for the PD?
I have forwarded it back to customer service.
Yes, ma'am.
He did his part, it was e-filed, and
Does it look like he's going to be eligible?
Your Honor, he has 2 dependents and brings home 505 easily.
I think that he would probably be eligible, Your Honor. Could the public defender be appointed? Just go ahead and.
Yes.
And Your Honor,
And we'll, why don't you just come back next cycle and so you have a chance to meet with him and go over it.
yes, please, Your Honor. Okay, thank you. All right, good.
When's that?
So, October 9. Yes, sir. So get up with me, Mr. Anderson, okay? Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. My other ones are housekeeping.
And that's fine. Let's go ahead and take,
Mr. Brennan, Your Honor.
okay, we'll do one more and then we're gonna take an afternoon break. I didn't
Yes,
take a
sir.
break this morning. All the court staff were all giving me,
The one that they had a plea agreement?
Yeah.
Your Honor, if you'll give me just a second, Mr. Brennan's approaching. You come to the podium. Your Honor,
Noah
Noah
Brennan?
Your Honor, the case number is 22 CF 2974. Mr. Brennan is charged with domestic violence battery by strangulation. Your Honor, I did speak with Mr. Brennan earlier today, and gave him a written plea agreement or sentencing recommendation, plea agreement, same thing, for him to sign. That includes a withhold of adjudication, 4 years of probation, no contact with the victim, Ms. Schneider, battered intervention, drug and alcohol treatment, outpatient, some community service work, court costs, and Mr. Brennan took that and he looked it over, and I told him that when he came to the podium, he could tell the court whether he wished to accept that or not. So at this time, Mr. Brennan wants to let the court know if he wants to accept that.
If you do, I'm gonna ask you a few questions, but just let's start off by asking you whether you wish to accept the state's offer.
Well, I really hate to ask you for another continuance since I've already been up here, a handful of times.
No, don't. That's not the issue. The issue, the sole issue before the court right now is whether or not you wish to, you don't want to take that plea deal. We can continue it, and you can figure out what you want to do as far as representation, et cetera.
I would like to continue it, sir.
So is it your intention to get
Public defender at best, yes, sir. Or an attorney, yes, sir.
So have you filled out the form for the BD?
No, sir, I have not. I'm going to do that,
Here's
yeah.
what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and appoint the public defender,
Okay.
and we'll continue this matter until 10/9, which is the next cycle. Give you a chance to meet with the public defender. Brennan, would that be, who would that be?
That would be me, Your Honor. I'm going to hand in my
Give you a
card.
card and set an appointment, come back on October 9th at 9 a.m.
Thank you, sir.
Meet with your attorney in the interim. Since we have real pressing matter, let's take a 10 or 15 minute afternoon break. We'll come back and finish.
All right, please. Circuit Court is at 10-minute recess.